Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of Sunday Speaks. As always, am Cheyenne Severin, and today I'm here with
James Manieri.
James. This is your third time being on now.
It is third time. Yeah, super grateful for that too. Like to have the opportunity to chat with you and others who are like minded, and even that are not like minded, right? And present ideas and different aspects of things. There's always a positive opportunity for people.
Mhm. So, speaking of opportunities and looking on the bright side and everything,
Mhm.
positivity leading up to
Yeah,
recovery.
positivity.
That's going to be what we're talking about today.
I know. What's better than that, right? I mean, I think negative. Negativity as soon as you don't even see it, you feel it, right? When someone comes in the room and they're in that vibe, it's like very easy for me to pick up on. And I think that has a lot to do with my addiction and having to survive certain atmospheres that may have been more put me in a lot of danger, so my senses became really heightened. So I think it even helped me become an empath in some areas, but it also allowed me to be sensitive to different people's emotions, and I just sort of accepted that. So when I accepted it, I actually was able to understand it then, and say, okay, I'm feeling this, I'm going to trust it, like my conscience.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Was that something you had growing up too, and it was just like exacerbated by your experiences in addiction, or?
I always felt everything very strong. So, being an empath, as they say, from what I understand of it, is feeling other people's emotions, right? And being able
Hmm.
to feel and live vicariously through them through a certain emotion. Um, I was a very sensitive kid.
Hmm.
Um, I meet people today who don't cry at movies or something. That wasn't me. Like, I remember being watching a movie when I was young. I mean, it was a 7 or 8. It was that young, and literally sitting in my bedroom sobbing because the woman lost her husband in war
Hmm.
and he died, and they came and told her. And when she was standing at the door and opened it, and she's seen the Marines, who were presenting her with that telegram, which I didn't even know what a telegram was then, but I knew whatever was happening wasn't good because she just fell to the ground. And that emotion of hers, that pain, resonated with me in such a powerful way that I couldn't ignore it.
Hmm.
It was present, very present, and I was extremely emotional. It was the first time I realized um, that I had no control over emotions that I have, and because I was really feeling the sadness that she wanted me to feel. My first experience with that.
I was that kid too. I mean, I'm
Yeah.
only 19, but yeah, growing up, I always had a hard time with that. I can't even watch horror movies, honestly, because I always feel bad for like the kids and everything in slashers because I just think about like their families and I'm not even kidding. Like, so I get so
That's so
upset.
great. I love that. You're like, don't die, Drew Barrymore. Yeah.
So I just start thinking about it. I'm like, that's so awful because then there are like so many families now that are like bereaved, and so that's what I think about. But
Yeah, no, I get it. Well, that's definitely an empath, right? That's definitely, and you know what that is also? It is being not besides an empath, it's also being someone who can um sympathize, right? I think even being in my field, of recovery as a peer recovery specialist and working in the hospital and then at the center as well,
Mhm.
um, for alcohol and drug resources, I think about sometimes I don't have to be empathetic. I need to be sympathetic because
Mhm.
certain aspects of addiction and active addiction needs my sympathy for me to say, I can allow you to feel your pain and not try and draw you out of it.
Mhm.
See, I've learned that I have to allow people to feel that emotion and not say, "Oh, well, how about this?" No, feel that, like, and be with them and sympathize with them, and then as we evolve through it, I'm never going to be the guy that says, "Oh, just wait, it'll be okay." No, or I'm going to say, "Oh, don't think about that." No, think about it, and I'll be here with you to. So I think I don't give people tissues when they're crying. I've learned that I don't, say, oh, it's going to be okay and give them a hug. I think that people have to experience that emotion. And for me to try and stop it because it's my will, because I'm uncomfortable,
Mm-hmm.
I think I've learned to evolve out of being that person who wants to impede my, um, need to help. Sometimes we help ourselves. There was a cute saying once I had heard about, and it said, don't wipe your tears, let them just dry because water helps things grow.
Mm.
And it stuck with me. And I was like, okay. And then that began the process of understanding, let go of my attachment to their pain and let them have it. Yeah.
Was there like any one instance that really pushed that way of thinking, or was it just a thing that developed over time?
Hmm. Rehabs allowed me to experience such a diverse group of human beings that had mental health, non-mental health, just the addiction, as opposed to being truly dual diagnosis, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's with a true dual diagnosis, um, people that didn't have that, and it was just temporary, perhaps because of the addiction, the mental health part, like what happened with me, by the way. Um, it was a moment when I was able to see all these different people, and then also say to myself, you know, I'm not going to ignore this room. So I think, Cheyenne, here's the thing. I use my life in a way where I prioritize my recovery and other recovering and struggling people that have substance abuse issues.
Mm-hmm.
And I also live in the feeling that I was rescued to rescue. So when I rescue, it's like I need to be able to allow each person their course and not the one I want them to have or feel they should so there's a saying, one of my best friends, Keaton, she was in college and a priest was the teacher, theology was the class. And he said, Keaton, there's just one savior in the world and you're not it. And then when she told me, I was like, wow, like so small, but so big. If you have that ability to hear it,
Mm-hmm.
right? And what my role has to sometimes understand, God has a plan for that particular addict, that particular person, right? So to bring positivity and enthusiasm, right, which is part of our topic, it is up to me to be an example when I walk in a room. I will never, what I've learned through being a bully little boy, that kid that wasn't picked in the group, always got to talk about that because that was such a pivotal life altering moment for me and realization that when I went back and picked myself,
Mm-hmm.
which was the beginning of my evolution and becoming authentic, it was then that I realized, um, keep these thoughts and then teach them as I go along. So I'm never going to let somebody dim my light when I walk in a room. I'm never going to, because you don't want to use your wattage that you have and you're not trying to turn it all the way up, maybe because you choose to stay in the pain, stay in this. It's like, but for me, I've done my work and continuing to do my work though, because guess what? I love to still be rescued. Like I've been rescued in areas that I've been pulled out of, yes, metaphorically. But the reality is I'm so flawed and I've learned to like be okay with my flaws because they're no longer the ones that are self-harming or harming to other people. Their flaws are just being a human being who's tired some days and who doesn't want to answer the phone and maybe doesn't call somebody back when I'm supposed to, or and those things I've given myself a break, like to say, James, don't beat yourself up, man. You're doing what you can.
Mm-hmm.
And the reality is 9 out of 10 times I'm calling back. I'm picking up the phone. I'm doing this at 3 in the morning when I get a message on Messenger from a stranger and like, can you help my daughter? And I'm like, what's going on? What? Like wiping my eyes, trying to see Valentine, my cat is like, why are you up? So 9 out of 10. So that 10th time, if I don't, I'm just going to leave that to God until I'm able to get there.
Hmm.
you know.
So, what? I mean, I'm trying to think about how to phrase this. It's like positivity and enthusiasm are very important. Did you find yourself lacking in those two kind of like attributes, feelings when you were in active addiction?
Someone looked at my eyes in a picture of me in a mugshot, just actually Friday. I showed them my first mugshot. And what they said was, there's nothing but death in your eyes. And I told them, you're right. Because the truth for me, when you're walking every day aimlessly homeless on a street at 28 years old and you're hungry, so to experience hunger from coming from a plentitude of food every day, when you are then the person who's walking, because with addiction there is no finish line as far as like you're walking and saying I'm going to reach this destination. No, it's constantly surviving, it's not living. So you know, it was hard for me. I had to reintroduce myself to me to find joy. See, I didn't have joy then, so there was no enthusiasm and positivity. No, how could I possibly have that when I'm hiding in Dunkin' Donuts bathrooms and someone's like this? You done in there? No, I'm not done. Please go away because I'm trying to numb everything that I feel. Um, and you're in the way of doing that.
Hmm.
So when you live in that world where all you're trying to do is escape, there's no sense of being present in an emotion that might have someone feel enthusiastic or positive. No. So yes, it was a learned behavior as I reintroduced myself to me, saying, okay, I remember going to rehab and I left, like, because I had fully surrendered, though. Also, by the time I got to the rehab in 2016, I fully surrendered. So because I fully surrendered, I was like, show me what to do. Teach me what to do because I know nothing. And now I'm ready to say to you, I came here 4 times before in this rehab. I know, and I sat in the back and I know I didn't pay attention, but I'm here now and I have to reintroduce myself to the counselors so they could take me seriously. And I had to reintroduce myself to me to say, listen, and then application. I could read all the books in the world and put them away and have it here. But if I don't actually do my footwork in that knowledge, nothing's going to change.
Hmm.
So I found laughter. I found simplicity, and I found the trees and the sun. Instead of sleeping under the trees, I looked at it with life, and I was like, wow, look at this beautiful tree. You know, the little things that used to be a shelter for me from the rain, like, you know, standing against a tree in Lincoln Park in Newark, because I didn't want to get, you know, the one pair of sneakers I had for a year and a half on my feet. I tried my best to let them be preserved. So when you go to a tree from shelter and not acknowledging to the moment where you step back and you go, oh my God, I can see it. I'm not using it. Right. And there's a whole different level of evolution for myself.
So, in your current state of being, what are some things that keep you feeling positive and enthusiastic and all of that?
Doing things that make me happy and being around people that build me and don't destroy me.
Hmm.
So those people constantly encourage me. And also what I've learned recently as a recent lesson was that people are teaching me about my personality. So I'm learning and listening to them when they say, oh, you're so, and if it's a building thing, I'm going to be present in it and say, I accept that.
Yeah.
I want to be that. So then I start to understand more about my personality, because if I listen to someone, see, when people tell us things, we should listen to them, right?
Hmm.
Especially two or more is telling you. They say, oh, one person tells you something you may not pay attention, but if several, there might be something you want to pay attention to, right?
Mhm.
So when people give me certain characteristics about my positivity, my joy, my upbeat personality, um, and being an extrovert, it's like I can get with that today. Even with compliments, I don't reject a compliment because it goes in the place of gratitude and not ego, you know? So I just simply say thank you as opposed to, oh, this shirt is, oh, it's wrinkled though. No, thank you because you like it. I can't tell you how to feel. So as I've grown, that's to answer your question, being around people that teach me who I am and listening to them and saying, you know what, I accept that I am positive. It makes you want to be that, all the time. But the one of the things is, besides that, I have to realize sometimes I come home, I live alone, I'm single, and it's just my cat Valentine and I.
Mhm.
And I have a pretty big life in the sense of two full-time jobs, so many beautiful friends, such an amazing family that all of that is there in this noise. And then I come home to the silence, which sometimes is deafeningly loud.
Mhm.
I just feel the absence of, all of that outside stuff. And I'm just with me. Being home alone for me sometimes um, is you know a little lonely,
Mhm.
but because I would love to be in love, because I love love, right? Like I'm a hopeful romantic. And it's like, but for me, I understand guess I'm still learning lessons that the universe hasn't prepared me for to be ready to love or be loved,
Mhm.
So yeah, that's some random thoughts.
Does Valentine help?
Valentine helps. Yeah, she does help. She loves me. I rescued her on Valentine's Day, but she also rescued me when she began to trust me.
Mhm.
And she started coming to me because the thoughts that I had in my healthy mind in recovery were, I'm making this beautiful little thing feel safe. And I had to look at the characteristics about how I did that. And when I first got her, she would stay in a corner. She was right at the streets. Her mother got hit by a car, and that's how it happened. And when she came in, she was so scared and crying, meowing in the corner. And
Mhm.
I gave her space. But what I did was I got my blanket and my pillow, and I brought it to my kitchen where she was in the corner, and she would just be there. She would eat though. That's one thing about her. She would eat, but not till I walked away.
Mhm.
You know. So what I did one night, I brought my blanket and my pillow to my kitchen, my first apartment in recovery. So it was clean. And I laid down a little bit away from her while she was in the corner. She was just staring at me. And I just laid there and slept in my kitchen the whole night. And I think because of those actions, having my presence available for her without causing harm and building on her fear, I was able to introduce her to maybe a new feeling towards me of safety.
Mhm.
And then I would say 2 days later, she jumped up on a little couch and came to discover me and was smelling and looking, with weariness, but at the same time with a interest of like, this is new. And she was getting past her fear. So she taught me how to love as well, in certain areas. Because I knew now I had to be responsible for this little life who would die without me in the house.
Mhm. That's incredibly sweet. And, I'm happy you had the patience and the space in your heart to let Valentine in. Because, I get it. We're running out of time, so I'll say this quick. But yeah, we took in a few cats when I was younger, who needed a place. So I know the feeling. But on that note, James, we are out of time today. So do you have any
Wow.
last comments, questions, concerns before we end off?
That was the quickest podcast ever for me.
Yeah.
It just feels like we're still getting into the conversation. But yeah, listen, no, except happy Labor Day to everybody. And I wish everybody peace and blessings and authenticity. And I hope that you find your purpose and what makes you happy. You know, teach people how to treat you when you meet them. Remember that lesson is big for me. And also, hopefully, for someone listening, I have to teach people how to treat me. And then if I'm in the middle of of a long term relationship with somebody or even family, sometimes I need to reintroduce myself to people who think they know me when I'm
Mm-hmm.
not feeling like they're treating me right.
Mm-hmm.
Put ourselves in a place of self worth that makes us want to go home and not get high.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so that's it. You know.
Thank you, James. Have a nice day.
Thank you, Cheyenne. Bye bye.
Bye bye.